يا صاحبي السجن أأرباب متفرقون خير أم الله الواحد القهار ما تعبدون من دونه إلا أسماء سميتموها أنتم وآباؤكم ما أنزل الله بها من سلطان إن الحكم إلا لله أمر ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه ذلك الدين القيم ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. O my fellow prisoners, which is far better, many different lords or Allah the One, the Supreme? Whatever idols you worship instead of Him are mere names which you and your forefathers have made up, a practice Allah has never authorized. It is only Allah who decides. He has commanded that you worship none but Him. That is the upright faith, but most people do not know. Verses 39 and 40. Who is truly worthy of worship? Who alone deserves to have their commands obeyed and their laws followed? Does it make sense for a person to follow multiple lords, each with their own conflicting wants and demands? Or it's wiser to turn to the one true Lord, the all-perfect and majestic, who requires nothing from them except piety and righteousness. What is the true meaning of worship?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, welcome to another episode of The Quran Asks, a series where we reflect on questions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all-knowing, and He does not need us to answer these questions. He asks these questions so that we could reflect and use it as signposts that lead us to the haqq and the truth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Fussilat, we will show them signs in the universe and within themselves until it becomes clear to them that it is the haqq or the truth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows us all these signs so that people may recognize His sole right to be worshipped and that they don't associate any partners with Him. With me today, Brother Ahmed. Welcome to this episode.
Thanks for having me.
So what can you tell us about these questions that the Quran asks and these signs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us?
Yeah, absolutely. Jazakallah khairan. I thought we could go over a couple of verses from Surah Yusuf today. It's part of Yusuf's Yusuf alayhi salam, his journey, and as he meets some prisoners while he was in prison, and the kind of the conversation that goes between them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relays what Yusuf said, and he explains, O my fellow prisoners, which is better, separate lords or Allah, the One, the Prevailing? Whatever idols you worship instead of Him are mere names which you and your forefathers made up, a practice which Allah has never authorized. Legislation is not but for Allah. He has commanded that you worship none but Him. That is the upright faith, but most people do not know. With these few words, Yusuf alayhi salam laid down the foundation of what Islam is, while also at the same time shaking the core of what jahiliyah stands on. The question, which is better, many different lords or Allah? Allah, and then is defined as the One, the Prevailing. It's a question that addresses the fitrah, the innate nature of the person directly. It places upon them a logical question and allows for one to ponder. Who is worthy of worship? Who am I submitting to? Who should I follow? Who do I give authority to? And it reflects the person back to say, it all belongs to Allah. It should solely belong to Allah.
SubhanAllah. I mean, you could tell that the suffering and the misery that happens in the world today, it is all because of these earthly lords, separate lords, that all have separate agendas, all to fulfill their own desires and their self-preservation. You could tell that there's a lot of fabrication of image that they try to show that they're superior to others, that they have this fake kind of authority over others, and they want to maintain that.
Yes, yeah.
SubhanAllah.
It allows them to have some kind of influence over the people that
Absolutely.
will then redirect them from what should be given to Allah.
Absolutely.
Will redirect that and give it to themselves.
Absolutely. Jazakallah khairan. So could you kind of continue on to the next part of the verse itself?
Yeah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to understand that we are the ones who need Him. Allah does not require our prayer. He does not require our fasting. He does not require our dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is higher than all of that. And so when He asks us to worship Him, it is for us. It is for us to live righteous lives, and it is for us to purify our hearts. And we can kind of see this in Surah Al-Fatir. Before we go back to Surah Yusuf, I'd just like to mention this one ayah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O mankind, it is you who is in need of Allah, whereas Allah is the self-sufficient, praiseworthy. So Allah, He's high, He's over everything. He does not require our worship. He does not require us to come with the rites and the rituals. So then when we take from those and give it to the idols, then you're putting those idols above you. You're putting man-made concepts, ideas, or physical objects above you.
Yep. You're misplacing that, that should be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when we go back to Surah Yusuf and the ayah of whatever, Allah Ta'ala says, whatever idols you worship instead of Him are mere names which you and your forefathers have made up. This lays down the groundwork that these stand on nothing, that any legislation needs to belong to Allah. Any form of worship needs to belong to Allah. Anything besides that is made up, it's man-made, it has no standing. And then throughout history, we see so many of this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran multiple times, in different rulers, different stances. If you take Fir'aun, for example, the Pharaoh of Egypt, he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala quoted him in the Quran and says, I know no deity for you other than me, and I'm your most high Lord. So he tries to put himself in a stance where he can command and where he can come with laws and where he can decide how the society lives. But that still exists to this day. It might exist in a slightly different reality. It might not be as announced. It might not be as publicly said. But it is by societies, by individuals or groups who decide that the command Allah Ta'ala gave them, the way that Islam is supposed to be lived in, they remove Allah's law from the societies and they try to replace it from other sources, being from other groups, other countries, other nations, other individuals. They'll try to apply that and have it replace what Allah Ta'ala commanded. But the ayah is clear. He has commanded that you worship only Him. And this essence of worship is that worship only has meaning if it's fully submitted, if it's complete in one direction. It cannot be half, it cannot be a part of it. It must all be given to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Yusuf alayhi salam defines this as saying this is the upright faith, as if no other faith works. That faith can only be accepted in one way, and that is if it's standing upright in one method that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept. And Yusuf alayhi salam affirms that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala closes out this ayah in a very shocking way that I think is very visible in the world that we see. The very last few words, but most people do not know. Unfortunately, that's the condition that many live in, where they're unaware, they live in ignorance. They do not understand that when obedience and worship is given to Allah, it must be given wholly. It cannot be separated. You cannot be a Muslim while also allowing yourself to be controlled by other ideas and other thoughts. Allah must be the only source. Legislation must come from Allah, and your way of living must come from Allah. Every facet of this religion, of your deen, of your existence, needs to come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And subhanallah, it's a few words. It's just a couple of ayat that Yusuf alayhi salam expressed to people that he saw, and he saw as an opportunity to explain the haqq to them. But it lays down and establishes what are the main features of this religion. Why is Islam the correct religion? Because it is the only one that relays all authority to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And with these words, he establishes the the defining features of Islam while also shaking the very core of what jahiliyah believes.
SubhanAllah, Jazakumullah khairan. I mean, you cannot be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and also have other sources, right? It's either you are or you're not. You can't have it partially,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which is
There's no
middle ground.
You can't have it both ways.
Correct. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Jazakallah khair, brother. This is very, very important to discuss. So, in conclusion, the Quran, with its clear and compelling verses, was revealed to free mankind from servitude to fellow beings and the injustices of man-made religions, guiding them to true faith and the perfect justice of Islam. It illuminates the path to righteousness in a life of meaning and purpose. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Isra, surely this Quran guides to what is most upright and gives good news to the believers who do good, that they will have a mighty reward. So, dear viewers, who will heed this call? O people, worship Allah. You have no Lord other than Him. We ask Allah to guide us all to His straight path. With that, we will inshallah see you in the next episode of The Quran Asks. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
يا صاحبي السجن أأرباب متفرقون خير أم الله الواحد القهار ما تعبدون من دونه إلا أسماء سميتموها أنتم وآباؤكم ما أنزل الله بها من سلطان إن الحكم إلا لله أمر ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه ذلك الدين القيم ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون